gun violence is an epidemic. If you want to protect yourself, get a double-barrel shotgun. Gun violence in this country is an epidemic.
Watch out! He's got a gun! He's going to steal your banana! Sorry, I'm stepping all over that jingle. Forgot about the banana. All right, ABC News here. Headline, police applaud armed citizen who killed 20-year-old Indiana mall shooter. 3 people were killed in the attack in Greenwood on Sunday. We reported this on Monday. The reason why we're bringing it back up is because the gunman and the Good Samaritan were named. So it says here, police identified and applauded 22-year-old who shot and killed the gunman who opened fire on a Greenwood, Indiana shopping mall. The gunman who killed 3 people before being killed was identified Monday as 20-year-old Jonathan Sapirman. Sapirman? I don't know. Sapirman. Sapirman. Then there's a photo here of Elijah Dickin, who's we'll get to in a moment. Elijah Dickin shot and killed Sapirman 2 minutes after the rampage started, Greenwood Police Chief James Eisen said at Monday's news conference. Quote, our city and community and our state is grateful for his heroism in this situation, Greenwood Mayor Mark Myers said. Quote, he's a young man processing a lot. I ask that you give him space and time to be able to process what he's gone through last night. End quote. The Johnson County coroner also identified the 3 people who were killed in the shooting. 30-year-old Victor Gomez and married couple Pedro Pineda, 56, and Rosa Rivera de Pineda, 37. Ugh, too young. Quote, I'm 100% certain many, many more people would have died last night if it was not for his heroism, Eisen told ABC News. Quote, the young man had his wits about him, acted very quickly, end quote. The suspect had over 100 rounds of ammunition on him, but fired just 24 bullets before being shot by Dickin, police said. The suspect brought 3 guns with him to the mall, but only used the, I don't know how to say this, Basil, the Sig Sauer?
Yeah, Sig Sauer.
Sig Sauer M400 rifle, which he purchased legally in March. Sapirman allegedly left behind another semi-automatic rifle in the mall bathroom, where he was seen on surveillance footage for an hour before the shooting. He purchased that weapon legally in March 2021. The pistol was also found on his body, police said. Gomez was shot outside the restroom, while the Pinedas were shot while eating dinner in the food court, according to police. In addition to those who were killed, a 22-year-old woman was shot in the leg, and a 12-year-old girl suffered a minor wound after a bullet fragment ricocheted off the wall and hit her in the back. So, just, an update on the situation. But I thought it was interesting that the Good Samaritan, whose picture is here, his name is Elijah Dickin, and it's spelled weird. It's a Elisjsha. So I can't tell if it's
like a mix between Elisha and Elijah.
Yeah.
They do have a picture, though.
Yep, they do have a picture of the man.
White guy.
White guy, yeah, white guy. When I saw the name, I was like, maybe it's something else, because it didn't look like a normal.
And quite an interesting spelling.
But it is a different, very interesting spelling. Now, obviously, we know about Elijah. I thought it was interesting. I think it's pronounced Elisha. And of course, in Hebrew, Elisha means God is salvation. So we have the Good Samaritan, whose name means God is salvation, helping, being a responsible citizen, and killing the guy with the guns trying to hurt people in a mall, and theocracy.
Well, the interesting thing is not necessarily saying that, this is planned or whatever, but,
right.
You applied this kind of, process with a lot of the shooters.
Yeah.
So we might as well keep it consistent. There was the Abe shooter, the Abe shooter, who had a very interesting name.
Right.
The Crimo guy in Uvalde.
Right.
So this is something that there's always something interesting, and I'm curious, one of these times, will it just not fit at all? Because it seems to fit pretty well every time.
I mean, if it's not
even Robert Crimo or whatever, is
Robert
spelled
Crimo
like
the third or something.
Crimo or whatever, and Robert means like famous,
right?
and crime, whatever. It just sounds like crime. Like famous crime.
Yeah.
And what is Uvalde besides that?
If it's not a deliberate, intelligence agency top of operative, then it's certainly a spiritual imprint of what's happening here.
Yeah. Spiritual imprint is an interesting way to put it.
Yeah. Along these lines.
We can move on. But with this one, remember the reporting of it, calling him the Good Samaritan type of thing, had a very interesting religious overtone to it the whole time.
Yeah.
So the fact that his name is Elijah is very interesting, at the very least.
Yeah, not what I expected. Let's just say that. And of course, theocracy is one of the themes for today, but also tantrums.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I do need to correct myself. Cremo or Crimo, whatever, was not Uvalde. That was Ramir. Yeah, what was his name? Okay, but I was incorrect.
Yeah, so there's a lot of shootings. It's hard to keep up. Okay, What was my little transition here? Oh, we had theocracy, and now we have tantrums. Here's another tantrum. This one, David Hogg in I think it was like a House meeting here. Let's take a listen.
Reiterating the points of mass shooters in your manifesto. The shooter at my high school, anti-Semitic, anti-black, and racist. The shooter in El Paso described it as an invasion. Guess what? Those guns are coming from the United States of America. They aren't coming from Mexico. They are not coming from Mexico. You are reiterating the points of a mass shooter, sir. Sir, you are perpetuating this violence. You need to realize it's not about a Democrat or Republican. Stop.
He's being escorted out.
Go David!
Go David!
Go David!
So there you go. There's your
what
tantrum.
is up? What is the, it's just, you're right. It's another tantrum thing, which he does actually pretty often nowadays.
Yeah.
But it's just so obviously a PR stunt.
Yeah.
Like this screaming, this yelling. Pete Buttigieg did the same thing after Uvalde in the press, whatever it was, press meeting thing with Abbott and the agencies, just the get up and scream thing, and have somebody video it so you can kind of make it. I mean, if it wasn't so obviously sort of this tantrum for the sake of people doing exactly what they did in this video. Yeah, go David. Go David.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just sick, man.
I want to clarify something from last episode. I was talking about the radicalization of course, the extreme right wing, not Christian nationalist types, but also we've clearly seen the radicalization of the left with Antifa and all that kind of stuff. And my point back yesterday, or I guess 2 days ago, was that radicalization happens on both sides. And when you see evidence of one side of the divide and conquer, it might feel like, oh, that's what's happening, but really it's happening to both sides. Because anytime you see it on one side, you're having an equal and opposite reaction on the other side. We may not see it on the news right away, but it's there. And I think that's what's sort of leading to this more tense sort of civil war sentiment here in this country as we kind of go along. But David Hogg really is sort of this champion for gun control, right? He's a survivor of a shooting. He's really politically
national hero.
A national hero. He's useful for that message, right?
Right.
And he's young, and he's getting older now, but he's young and he's in there. So now and then you have the champion for the right now with the not just Rittenhouse, but now we have another one. We have Elijah. So it's just interesting that we're creating these icons, and by doing so, you are radicalizing younger people because they look up to these young 20s, young men who are either standing up to fight against government or whatever, the tyranny, which is the message within the bubble of the left progressives, or we're fighting to protect the country and the values of the country, which is the Christian nationalism on the right. So very interesting.
I would say not always the Christian nationalism, but definitely the conservative side of the same coin.
Yeah.
I find it interesting, just to get super meta for a second. There was when you look at entertainment over the past few decades, start it from I don't know, 70. Let's start at the 80s because that's kind of the
MTV,
the closest thing that we can kind of do. There's been this trend where heroes in movies and the main characters,
the
heroes,
antagonists and
protagonists
have an overlap.
They've been getting younger and younger and younger.
Yeah, that too.
You look back to like the 70s, 80s, and of course before, the famous actors were much older than they are. And now you get the Disney stars, the entertainers can get younger and younger. And now, once somebody turns like 22, they're considered old for the entertainment industry. Yeah. And it kind of just like, not that they disappear, but there's a new, younger,
they have to reinvent
hero
to something else. Otherwise,
And I think it's been interesting, as we've always sort of made the comparison between the entertainment industry and sort of the political theater. We've been seeing sort of these hero types in real, quote unquote, real life, or at least the reality being crafted by the narrative crafters, the corporate news media, getting younger and younger. Mm-hmm. Of course, Greta's a good example, right, where we had a 16-year-old activist. A couple years ago, it would be incredible if there was like a 20-year-old activist, mm-hmm, or even before that in the stuff like that. But now you have national icons, political icons, who are just getting younger. And it's like the entertainment strategy bleeding over into the narrative crafting.
Well, that's what it is. It's the same. It's the same blueprint that's used in mass media that they're using in politics. So, of course, the trends are going to be very similar.
The politicians are getting younger and younger, starting with AOC, who is 33 or 31, I think. I forget what it was. She was real young when she came about. Then there was Madison Cawthorn, who was 26. And all these shooters, all the famous shooters. Remember in the olden days, the famous shooters were, it's like the Unabomber. He was like 50 or something when they caught him.
Was he that old?
He was pretty old by the time they actually caught him. But now it's like all the national icons of news, all the news states, they're all 20s, 22, all these shooters. Some of them are 18. They just keep getting younger and younger. It's just weird, man. I mean, it's weird to watch the sort of meta parallel happen.
Well, and I think to your point, that, the whole talk about the 10-year-old girl who got the abortion, that really, I mentioned it at the time too, but I really think that is another desensitization thing for all 10-year-old girls who saw or heard about the story. Which, if those kids are on their phone or
activating them into sort of activism or something,
a fear, some kind of fear, some kind of thought planted in their minds about the whole situation. So anyway,